Wizards of the Coast made their ban announcement public. They let us know what cards are good and what cards are not good. The market reacted, and now we get to take a look at the results. Honestly, I'm not sure what we all expected was going to happen, but I know quite a few people were very surprised with yesterday's ban announcement. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. And yes, we're discussing the ban announcement that happened yesterday from Wizards of the Coast. There was 3 key cards that we're going to discuss because they were the topic focal point of my video from the day before about how, without even knowing what ban announcements are actually going to be, people speculating can actually move the market and cause all kinds of damage to players, losing a lot of money because they follow the flow of the wording that they hear from other people. You better cash that card in, man. That card's going to get banned. Look how many times people are playing it. It's being abused. You got to cash out while you still can. And a lot of players did. But those players who cashed out found that maybe this particular card, the one we're first going to show today, didn't get banned. We're going to talk about the One Ring, absolutely, because the amount that flooded onto the market was in the thousands by the time I finished doing a little card count and talking with a whole bunch of different people. But at the same time, when the ban announcement didn't come, and it kind of dodged the bullet, at least for now, at least till what, December of 2024, because of that, and the fact that it's an expensive card that Wizards of the Coast wants to reprint, we're going to talk about that, well, it just means it was unlikely to get banned anyway, and people who held on did pretty good. Let's take a look at this, guys. So in case you missed yesterday's video, here is the One Ring Borderless Edition. You can see here, $81.52. The monthly change was minus $12.19, but that is going to change. Okay, this was a snapshot taken mid-afternoon yesterday. I wanted to get it up and ready, so I wanted to show kind of a middle of the day type take. Now, in case you guys didn't know what the card does, here, the One Ring is a 4 casting cost legendary artifact with Indestructible. When the One Ring enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring, and you can tap to put a burden counter on the One Ring, and then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. Very interesting, right? And they decided that this card was not being overly abused, okay? This card was not the be-all, end-all. It works around other things and doesn't directly relate to the damage done to things in Modern. So for now, the One Ring is safe. It's not going to disappear. It may be revisited. They did talk about it, right? Same as they talked about Psychic Frog. They put some of these cards up there saying, just in case. But the market reaction to this was just crazy. Just take a look at this snapshot. Here is just one little page I'm showing you of the sales that started to rack up after the announcement was gone. When you look at the prices here, there's going to be a lot of them in the $80 and $70 range, okay? There's a lot there, and they are flying off the shelves. Now, when the overall sales were counted, I was already into about 500-600 sales, and I just stopped because it was getting too many, too ridiculous. I will check it out on my top 10 this weekend. It's definitely a card I will review to see how many sales it actually racked up. Now, that is not all just players buying the card, although there were quite a few who picked it up, saving 10 to 20% on the price as soon as that announcement came up. I'll be curious to see, and of course you can email me if any of your orders get canceled because of the sudden price shifting. I know there's been a lot of that going around right now, so if that happens to you, I would like to hear about it. Please send me an email, it'd be great. lang@hotmail.com. It's in the description of my video. But those overall sales volumes completely reversing and just shooting up the charts is because it wasn't banned. And people got a nice deal if they got in quick enough before the prices kind of reflected, readjusted, and went back up. But that also means that that first table I showed you with a minus $16, month over month type thing of its change in price is likely going to change again, and that's because of the sales volumes. As the sales were happening, the lower copies were disappearing, and as those got eaten up, $5, $6, $2, $4, $8, $9, $10, and before you know it, the card's back to where it was. Because speculators dive back in, trying to get a deal. Players got in, trying to get a deal. And everyone's just trying to make up some of that money. And I know 2 people already emailed me saying they tried to buy back the copies that they had just traded into an LGS like 2 days ago. So I'll be curious to see how that works out. They said they're waiting to hear back from the LGS to see if their order went through. Just saying. Now let's take a look at this next card, because we're not done yet, because this is the next one we did talk about. This is Grief. Now, Grief has been kind of like a black mono staple thing, and as you guys can see, the price has already been trending down. And this has been happening roughly since late July, where it's just dropping from the 20, it kept shifting. It's going to get a lot worse now because it's been banned. Now, when you take a look, it's been restricted and banned, okay? So it's been restricted, I think, in Vintage, right? And then it's been banned outright in Modern. So as a 2 black, 2 generic, 3/2 with Menace. Elemental Incarnation, but it says when Grief enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards the card. And it also has Evoke. Now, this gets pretty nutty and pretty insane, as you can tell. There's lots of ways of pumping this guy out right away, and there's lots of ways of rehashing him and causing recursion to make people lose multiple cards, and that is just so frustrating to gameplay. I know the feeling when you have to mulligan and stuff, and that's exactly what they talked about. Now, I've never faced this deck in a Modern. I faced it in some casual games, and I can tell you, yeah, it's a pain. It definitely reminds me of the good old Hippie Spectre and stuff back in the day when it was like turn 1, Dark Ritual, Hypnotic Spectre. It reminds me of Hymn to Turok, where 2 cards are being yanked from your hand. Any card stuff where it just makes you discard cards is brutal, but being able to look at the card and pick apart somebody's deck really can kill off the gameplay and the fun of playing. But that's just how it goes. And of course, if we shift over here, this is where things get interesting. Look at the sales volumes. You can see here's the 26th, a whole bunch of sales. And then there's some on the 24th. And that's the only page. That's the only page. Because in the case of Grief, it already wasn't a super, super popular card. The price was trending down. A lot of people thought it might likely get banned. And a few people dived back into the market on the falling knife, wondering what was going to happen. And when it got banned, the sales just stop. They stop. And that tells you that was a lot of speculators, not just players. That was speculators saying, should I buy 5 or 6 copies? Should I get back in at the lower price? And if it doesn't get banned, it's going to shoot back up. That rubber band effect didn't happen in this case. It got banned, and that's where we're at. Very interesting to see how the market reacts and how money is made and lost in such a short period of time in Magic the Gathering. But you know what? There's one more to do. There's one more card we have to cover, and that's because it's Nadu, the Wed Wisdom. We were talking about this one yesterday, of course. I did the snapshots for you. We're capturing it again here. Card was already trending down, and now, of course, it's going to go that much lower. Now, this thing's a 1 blue, 1 green, 1 generic, 3/4. It's a legendary bird wizard creature, and of course it has flying. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice a turn. So, of course, the abuse for this card is massive. We knew from the Modern Championships how this thing was going, and now it's just gone. But this is where things get really interesting. Take a look at the snapshot of sales, and I focus particularly on this one. Look at the sales here happening on the 26th. Look at the people buying 10, buying 20, buying all those copies up, okay? And it goes for about a page and a half. You can just look on TCG Player yourself. But the reason I'm showing you that particular shot is because the announcement hadn't come out and the card was so low. Somebody said, let me just spend $100. Let me throw that. Just like you're doing it in the market. And you're hoping for a quick snap return. You're hoping it doesn't get banned. You're hoping it somehow avoids it because the championship is going on and all these players have built their decks and, they don't want to ban it right now. But they did. Okay? And many players are super stoked and excited that it's been banned. But that snapshot shows you just directly how a speculator can hope to make some quick money. They don't have to be right all the time. They've just got to be right enough that they always come out ahead. If things had gone differently and Nadu was not banned, it wouldn't have stayed $3, would it? A lot of players would have dove in and tried to build modern decks around it, and the card would have shot up to like $8, $9, $10. But if somebody bought 30, 40 copies in the space of a few minutes, and the next couple of days their order goes out, things aren't banned, unless their order got canceled, of course. But I'm just saying, if it all goes according to Hoyle, if all the plan works out, they end up with these 40, 50, 60 copies that they can resell back into the market and make a lot of money. This kind of speculation on the market does happen quite often, and it's always at the ban announcement type times where I like to focus on it and see where things are going. And this is one of those times because of the cards and the fact that Nadu's brand new, and it just shows the R&D development issues that Wizard of the Coast faces when they don't know how all these cards are going to interact. But the idea that you get to see this snapshot of wealth being created and taken away, and the gambler premium being taken to hopefully come out ahead on a short-term turnaround. It reminds you of what it can happen and how what can not happen. Like the fact it can all be taken away and lost in seconds. Now, Nadu is not completely banned yet. We don't know what's going to happen further down the road, and cards do become unbanned later on. As I've talked before, Wizards of the Coast controls a lot of levers. But the fact that Nadu wasn't an expensive card, the fact that Grief's been around for a few years and trending down, means those were not valued targets that Wizards of the Coast really had to worry about. They can still reprint those cards somewhere down the road as a bulk rare into some new premium set. But the idea of the One Ring being just taken out right now doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? That kind of valuable card that Wizards of the Coast can focus on later on as a premium reprint card and some kind of new artwork, alternate style, it's worth a lot of money to them. And as a company, they're not likely to do that. Now, if you're one of those players who took advantage and managed to get the One Ring, fantastic. Fantastic. You saved a lot of money. And the idea that it will get reprinted and come around again means that this card's not likely to get banned, at least not for the next little while. Could it happen in December? Absolutely. And that's still going to give you now, 3-4 months of playtime before you really have to start to worry about it. But the players who bought a lot of those cards are players who were new. They just said, you know what, I don't have any. I can save a whole bunch right now. I'm going to get a couple of copies for myself. And then, of course, there were speculators diving back in. Now, you guys are going to have to tell me where you fell on the fence in this. I did talk about it. I said how the crowd, right, just hearing a card's going to get banned can move a market, and that's exactly what happened right now. And it can give you a little bit of insight to what to expect going next time and what you should be looking at. Remember, they talked about Psychic Frog as well. These are cards that they're going to be focused on to see how the next few months go in gameplay. And they also said there was no real problems with Standard. They said Standard's very healthy. It's going very well. Because of the longer range of the format now and the longer lifespan, a lot of new cards get added in, which cause all kinds of crazy effects. So even when you think you've got a deck that works, there is another deck out there that can probably handle you if it's built the right way. So it leads to a very even playing field, at least right now. I'm waiting to see how decks go right now. Like, I'm using Caretaker's Talent with the Forge, and we'll see how that really plays out down the road, because I'm really doing quite well. I want to know what you guys are using right now if you're playing Standard, and of course what you're going to do in Modern right now if you're going to be playing. I need to know some details. You guys have got to let me know how you feel about this banning and where you think the money's going to go next. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. Thanks for stopping by my channel. A reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, to like and subscribe to the channel. We're only about 450 subscribers away from 24,000 subs. Thanks again to everyone who makes it happen every day by subscribing to the channel, watching the videos, and giving my channel a thumbs up. Really appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Shop smart, shop S-Mart. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to all the fantastic patrons on my channel. In case you guys didn't know, these patrons, because of their support, daily uploaded content is put out on YouTube for everybody to enjoy. Whether you're one of my YouTube membership members or a patron of my channel on my private Discord talking with me, you're the ones who make it happen. So thanks again for supporting my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Welcome back to the Ramble Jam. Ramble in the Chamble! You made it, man. You are here at the end. I gotta be honest, I did tell people that the One Ring probably wasn't going to get banned. I suggested it to people to give them that hint. It's too much money for Wizards of the Coast. And I know some people who bought it at a very, very attractive price, even here in Canada. Saving 20% on a card you've always wanted makes a lot of sense. We can get a good deal like that and buy it at a discount. Buying 4 means you almost got one for free at this point. I know it's a lot of money for this card, and yes, there could do a reprint, which they need that money value. And since this card doesn't dominate a certain area of Modern or in Commander, it's just like an add-on. It leaves a lot of open space for a card like this to never get banned, as long as no key cards get built that abuse it. Wizards of the Coast prefers not to deal with heavy money-making cards. Look at Shoulder the Apocalypse. That's all you need to do to understand where Wizards of the Coast is coming from. I talked, I think about a year ago, maybe 8 months, where I discussed that Wizards of the Coast has got to build up a new portfolio of higher-end cards that they can start inserting into premium products. And this is exactly what we're talking about. These types of cards, having a longer lifespan, being utilized in multiple formats means a certain value retention is kept to these cards. And if they restrict and hold tight to reprints and allow the card to continue to be played, it's going to hold a higher value, hold a higher IP value. That intellectual property of what this card does for the game, and hopefully avoid some power creep for a while. but still make them a lot of money, which means it's not going anywhere. Shoulder of the Apocalypse isn't going anywhere. It's only coming back in premium sets. It's so fascinating. And we talk about it, and then when people don't listen, you're like, come on, you knew this was coming. Guys, thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here at the end of the Ramble Jamble. If you made it this far, you can put the one ring in the comments section. Okay, I just held my pose for a second. Really? You're going to put Necronomicon in the comments section.